Hello and welcome. My name is Michael Immeke. At Eastern 2020, DIA presented its recent version of the light calculation software DIALux Evo, version 9. And I'm now about to present to you the new features. We see a slightly revised design. At the beginning, it is noticeable that dial self-promotion is prominent at the start, as if they were the only ones where you can learn the use of their software. But what about the performance of the new software? I have opened the same project twice with DIALux Evo, once with version 8 and once with version 9. From this, I would like to determine the calculation time and also consider differences in ray tracing. The project was originally created in DIALux 8. It is noticeable that the loading time is somewhat longer with DIALux Evo 9 and the software starts slower as well, possibly because more data is exchanged with the manufacturer via the internet. In addition, when changing from Evo 8 to Evo 9, each project must be recalculated. But has the calculation time improved? Project 1 is an office in which I compare different lighting solutions. A total of 8 times 3 offices with detailed normative calculations, wall surfaces, work planes and numerous UGR calculations. It takes, with Evo 8, 6 minutes 29 and with the newer version 7 minutes 32. That's 16% more with the new software. Let's take a second project to be sure. A hotel where nice pictures matter more than standards. Evo 9 performs better here. Evo 8 asked for 1 minute 33 and Evo 9 just 2 seconds more. With ray tracing, Evo 9 on the other hand looks better in 2 ways. Instead of 18 seconds, it takes now only 13 seconds per image. And if you look closely, you can see that details are displayed better. The reason for this lies in the revised calculation methodology that has found its way into Evo 9. Objects with hundreds of thousands of tiny surfaces, such as the sextant in the foreground, are rendered better. With Evo 8, it could happen that very small areas get virtually no photon and were therefore displayed dark, black. That is no longer the case, a significant improvement for projects where the visual result is important. What about the numeric result? In the second project, I noticed slight difference in the minimum values and accordingly in the uniformity. My spontaneous suspicion is that the internal measurement grid is slightly different. It seems that only the very low values are different. These are not relevant in the majority of projects. This would be most likely to be of interest with exterior and street lighting projects. A simple comparison test shows no difference in the street lighting. The street lighting part of the software doesn't appear to have changed at all. Back to the software itself. A new button on the top left is actually only removed from the documentation. Now even more contact persons can be used here. People already known to the software are inserted with an autofill function. I have not been able to discover the deeper meaning of the project picture on the right because I cannot print it. Maybe it's just a memory hook. But let me continue. The zoom function for the screen has disappeared from the top right position. I actually only needed it during seminars so that the screen content for participants and the audience is better visible. But there are 2 essential and a number of minor aspects that make a difference between DIALux Evo 8 and 9. First, the completely revised documentation and thus a partial return to DIALux as a payware, like it was the case about 20 years ago. And second, improved handling of luminaires based on multiple user requests. Anyone who hoped that the emergency lighting announced for years now, or even the flood lighting would be integrated, will be disappeared. But the missing features from DIALux 4 do not overshadow the well-known advantages of DIALux Evo. A brief look at the object tree. It is much tidier and gives a visual foretaste of the improved documentation. The documentation now lacks the old 3-fold structure for different addresses. This is unfortunate for a few individuals, but was always not really accepted by most users. The functions are partly outsourced to the project command at the top. If you use several light scenes, you can quickly choose here whether you want an output for each of them. This function was previously linked to the light scene itself. What is still noticeable is the somewhat shorter time it takes to generate a PDF, but you still have to expect it to take several minutes on a medium-sized project. Here too, an embedded CAD plan is always a decelerator. The layout. 2 options are included. It is much more aesthetic than before, even a little clearer with additions such as a glossary, which may also be deselected. It is also nice to be able to change the orientation of individual pages within a documentation in order to use the available paper size better. Further layouts with more creative freedom are offered in a Pro version for an ambitious €30 per month or €360 per year. I will create a separate video to explain the handling of the new documentation. In dealing with the luminaires, I have mostly heard 2 requests during my seminars and lectures in the past years. Other options for luminaire placement, especially for a linear arrangement, and second, the possibility of transferring the alignment of a luminaire to another luminaire to make the individual orientation of each spotlight unnecessary. After all, the first wish was now being implemented, and that is very appealing. There are 2 approaches to a linear arrangement. As usual, by inserting the number of desired luminaires along a drawn line, or second, over a defined distance, for example, by fitting every second luminaire in a trunking profile. With both approaches, the center of luminaire, the edge of the luminaire, or a uniformly symmetrical arrangement with half the edge distance can be chosen as reference. Very well solved. This principle cannot, at least yet, be applied to the field arrangement. And otherwise, it always has been the case that you have to manually define your own areas outside in order to carry out normative planning there. There is a helpful extension for this now. A created area can be selected in the view control above. It is therefore possible to look at a large outdoor area individually and to calculate such individually if you use the quick calculation. I like that. My conclusion. Some significant improvements to what I still consider to be the best lighting design software, but the joy is a little diminished by the fact that the pay functions are expensive and some long-awaited functions are still missing. In my opinion, an expansion of the BIM functionality would certainly be very important, because that's where the future will go. And above all, the competition is already somewhat ahead there. In the very first version of DIALux 9, at least one calculation error in the glare rating was discussed in the internet. A compliment to the developers for a quick update here. For a transition period, I will have to continue working not only with DIALux 4, because of some of its functions, but also with Evo 8 and 9 in parallel, because both Evo versions can be installed at the computer at the same time. Expect from me a detailed video on the documentation in DIALux Evo 9 and other videos regarding DIALux Evo, lighting in general, Luminaire AR app. Well, I'm looking forward to see you again. It was my pleasure to produce this video for you. My name is Michael Immeke.